Well, you want to repurpose what people are interested in. You need to consider that not every person who saw your initial video that you did on that topic is going to be the same person watching it again, right? You're getting new people's eyes on this content all of the time. I think about myself. I don't go back to the black hole of someone's, Instagram page and look for videos from, that they first posted. I look at the more recent videos, right? And so that's what most people do. So recreating it, yes, it's the same video to you as a creator. It's brand new to the person laying their eyes on it.
Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Brandon Brotsky. He is the co-founder, co-owner, and director of origination with Reach Home Loans based in Boca Raton, Florida. Brandon, great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So a bit about you for our audience. Over $2 billion funded in your career. You started back in 2002 in the business. You are currently UWM's number 2 purchase LO nationwide. And in your career, Brandon, you have helped over 10,000 plus families get into homes. And as anybody watching this on YouTube can now see, you are Brand the Mortgage Man. You've got the branding all over your socials. It's also on your sweatshirt there. For starters, just tell us about your brand and how it kind of came to be.
Sure. So I learned early on in mortgages that I had to separate myself from the company I was part of, just because maybe we can relate it to if you think about like retail banks, right? People think, and not to drop a name, but like Wells, for instance, right? They hear that or something, like think, oh, bad experience. And it's not the company they have a bad experience with. It's an individual at that company, which gives them a bad name. So early on, I realized, I need to be a separate entity from the company I'm part of. Of course, this is before I ever had my own company, right? So people knew Brandon, and then my wife calls me Bran. People always call me Bran, and it just rhymes. I'm like Bran the Mortgage Man. I started with just a Gmail email address, and it became a thing. I mean, we really started to focus on utilizing Brand the Mortgage Man as, I don't want to say a character, but to some degree, a personality, right? When we started focusing heavily on social media.
Speaking of, that brand extends now heavily into your social media presence, and in particular with video content that has really become the bread and butter of the way that you are out there promoting yourself on social. Tell me, at what point did you figure out that was going to be a strategy for you?
So I have a business partner who we work hand in hand. We each do something different in our business. Like you said, I handle anything origination related. He's more general business operations. So we sat down together, and he's always had the foresight to say, hey, I kind of have an idea of where things are going. And I'm going to go back in time real quick. So we dabbled in video and educational content back in 2012 on Facebook. It was a lot different back then. You can really target market. And when HUD stepped in and started to regulate what you can and can't do on Facebook, it had an impact on how we were generating the business and what we were able to get out in front of. But my approach has always been educational. And so my partner, Adam, is like, we should really use what your strong suits are and use that to grow our business further. So we decided to commit to it in late 2023. And I think that's the biggest thing. We've always dabbled in it, right? And I think people dabble in a lot of things. They're like, oh, it's a great idea. Other people are doing it. And they do it a little bit. They might see some success with it, but then they stop doing it for whatever reason, us included. And so what we decided was in late 2023, it was mid-November, like we're committing to it and we're going to give it a year, see what we can do. So we committed to it for a year, and we started to see some traction in we started in November. So in April of the following year, so 5 months later, we had our first, I would call a viral video. And it's been off to the races since then. And it's just the consistency is the biggest thing for us. But that's where everyone is, right? You're getting out in front of the people that want to see what you're talking about, right? You want to educate them. I'm not doing anything that's a call to action necessarily in my videos. Maybe some of my YouTube content we do now, but it's all just educational. So I just took what I do already outside of being in front of a camera and put it in front of a camera. It's no different. It's who I am anyway, other than the glasses with no lenses, right? I get a lot of, he has no lenses. Yes, I know I have no lenses. These glasses are so you can see me and not so I can see you, right? So it helps you stand out. But that's the biggest thing is just we figured, hey, this is a way to get in front of the right people with the right information, and then hopefully we can grow it from there. And we had success, luckily.
Speaking of being in front, how comfortable were you being in front of the camera? Because a large part of what you are doing is putting yourself out there.
I guess I've always been good about speaking in front of people. I've never had an issue doing that, and it just came naturally to me. Some people, it's a lot more difficult to really acclimate to doing that, and it's just too much for them. I guess you're either that person or you're not. I mean, you can certainly train yourself. In time certainly helps, right? Doing things over, like with anything, right? More reps, you get better and more comfortable, whether it's in sales or shooting content, right? So I just took to it naturally. Others may not, but if you're thinking about content, someone listening to this, I think that just do it and keep doing it, because the more you do it, the better. And doing it is what other people aren't doing, right? So I always said this is it's better to put something out, right? And just get out, no matter how good it is or feel, right, whether we were comfortable, not comfortable, whatever it is, versus not putting anything out. Because I can tell you're never going to get anything if you don't put something out there. At least you have an opportunity if you're doing it.
Great point. Yeah, you have to put yourself out there and not be afraid of what other people think of you. That's half the battle right there. You mentioned educational content. Where do the ideas for your education videos come from?
So yeah, that's a great question. So it's a mix. So I mentioned I have a business partner. So what he'll do is he'll comb through like hot topics on social, right? And I'm talking about, when I talk about social, I'm talking about like short form, which is your Instagram, your TikTok, right? Things that are getting thrown in front of people's faces based on the algorithm, for their, whatever they're, watching or interested in, right? So he'll see what's trending, not dances or anything like, you have a lot of agents and lenders will start, doing these trends. I don't do trends. I do real information that's going to be valuable, that's trending, not a dance move or some song that's trending, right? So he'll focus on those things and do the research. I'll do more of the content that's specific to mortgages or real estate, which is what I know, right? So it's a mix of the two. And then whatever hits. So once you have enough content filmed and you see what performs well, you start to recreate that same content in a different way. So we already know, for instance, I'm going to give you a for instance on this is, hey, never put 20% down when you're buying a home. This is why you can get a better interest rate when you're putting 5% down on your home purchase. People like to hate on you, right? That's where you see a lot. So we realize that hits really well because people don't like it, although it's accurate, right? And if you know why it's accurate, then, right, if you're in the industry or if you've watched other videos that I did follow-ups on that, explaining in detail why it is what it is, right? Those are the types of things that perform really well, but you learn that from doing it. And that's content that he and I created together, right? Because he watches what's performing. He'll take that, come back to me and say, okay, let's rework this and try this angle with the same exact topic. And we do it and they hit every time.
So this is your guy behind the scenes who's helping you with ideas, creating all of these different topics that you can then turn into videos. There's also AI because ChatGPT is playing a part in this as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I don't handle the ChatGPT aspect of it, but Adam, my partner, he's an animal on Chat. I mean, he's way ahead of, he was on that, before anyone even, people knew what it was, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. Before it was a known thing, it's like common now. It's on your cell phone, sure, right? So before that was even a thing, he was learning how to create the prompts and so forth. So once we had enough content where it was Brandon or me speaking, Brand the Mortgage Man, right? In the way I speak, he takes that and he uploads it into ChatGPT and he created a GPT that's basically me, and it can rewrite the content the way I speak, right? Presented the way I present. Now, because ChatGPT is only as good as the person utilize. It's like anything, right? If you have to know how to use the tool, he knows how to use the tool. So like I was saying, we both handle different aspects of our business. That's something that he handles on behalf of both of us because we're really a team, and we utilize that on our social.
Super, super smart, just to leverage the technology in that way and make it customized to the way that you actually talk. You were talking a couple of minutes ago about looking at which topics hit or which topics perform well for you on social media. Some people may think that when creating video content, that every single video has to be something that they've never done before. That is not your approach. You have no problem repurposing topics. Tell our listeners why.
Well, you want to repurpose what people are interested in. You need to consider that not every person who saw your initial video that you did on that topic is going to be the same person watching it again, right? You're getting new people's eyes on this content all of the time. I think about myself. I don't go back to the black hole of someone's, Instagram page and look for videos from, that they first posted. I look at the more recent videos, right? And so that's what most people do. So recreating it, yes, it's the same video to you as a creator. It's brand new to the person laying their eyes on it. So you need to keep that in mind. It's okay to recreate the same thing, maybe in a different way. But if it was good information to one group of people, it's going to continue to be good information for the people that see it in the future. So you just got to keep doing that. Do what works.
Let's talk about a couple of the hooks that you like to use on Instagram. And I should mention, by the way, you now have 163,000 followers on your Instagram account, which is just incredible. So congrats to you for really all the success you've had on that platform. But a few that I took notice of are videos that you start with 3 ways, how to, or mortgage hacks. Why are these effective ways to get somebody to keep watching?
Well, it's saving money and making money are things that people are typically going to be interested in. We've learned that. So that's why it's always the focus, right? The tips, the tricks are all pertaining to something along those lines. Ways to save money, ways to make money. And that's what people want to really focus on. So if you're providing that information, you got to have, for one, you got to grab their attention. So that gets them, and they know what's coming. They're like, when does this video end? They know, hey, these are 3 tips. And they know when I get through tip number 2, I'm going to give tip number 3 and the video's over, right? So they're waiting for it. It's not some endless video in their eyes where, okay, when am I getting to the actual meat of this, right? So that's why we focus on a specific number of things, right? If it's tips, tricks, and why we focus on it because it's saving money and making money for people.
Another one you do that I've seen from other content creators is somebody will kind of knock on your door of your office or pop into your office and ask you a question.
Sure.
And then the camera switches to you and you'll answer it. And one other thing that I saw that you do that I like is you'll have the camera then switch to an over-the-shoulder shot, and you're actually writing it out. You're actually giving us an illustration of what this looks like in number form. Tell me about those videos.
Yeah, those actually perform the best in reality because people can relate to them. So people want to know about their own scenario, right? So the videos you're referencing are things like, hey, I make $20 an hour, I work full time, can I qualify to buy a home? It's a very big question, right? There's a lot of variables, as the loan originators listening to this know, right? Credit score, amount of other debt, and so forth. But I break that all down so someone get a general idea of what to expect. So I can say, hey, if you're using an FHA mortgage with 3.5% down, right? And I write it all out because some people like to, learn by hearing, others are more visual. So seeing it written out, people they love that, and it performs well. Every now and then I'll go too quick and mess up on the math, and you get a lot of comments, right? Because I'm just going too quick through it. But either way, it's more just putting it out there. But people like to see things that they can relate to. And some people are scared to ask the question of someone. So when you're putting it in their face and they're not having to be the one asking because they're scared of rejection or whatever it might be, and whatever, I don't know what the reason is for not even wanting to ask the question of someone who's a professional, like those listening on here, seeing someone else who's asking the question on their behalf, it makes it more relatable. And it just does really well, like you said. I mean, those perform really well on Instagram as well because they're more organic feeling. They're not as edited as some, our other videos are more edited stylistically versus organic. So, people just like to see that things that they can see themselves asking that type of question.
For anybody who sits in that chair who consistently creates content, I always like to get their perspective on time spent originating versus time spent creating content. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I've done is I've leveraged myself, right? Matt was talking this morning, he has 24 hours in a day. We all do. And that's the truth. But if you build a team around you, you're gaining hours. And so what I've done with the origination aspect of things is I'm still heavily involved in originating. There's specific realtors that I deal with directly and team members, and I still review files. However, I do have a team of licensed originators that support me depending on the type of client or referral source, so that it frees up my time to focus on other things. One of those things being content creation, like you said. However, I do have a set day every single week where we do shoot content. So from 11 to 3 on Friday of every week, that's set aside on my calendar specifically to shoot content. Not create the content, right? But shoot the content. I create the content throughout the week. So the only content that really takes me a lot of time to create are the long form videos. So content for YouTube, where they have to be longer, right? They're 5 minutes to 30 minutes in some cases. So I really have to sit and take the time to at least bullet point what I'm going to be focusing on before I do those. But outside of that, I mean, it's the 4 hours every Friday, every single week. We'll go in. People think that I'm going and shooting a video on Monday, posting a video on Monday. It's just not how it works. So if I'm shooting for Instagram and TikTok, which is the same exact videos that we'll post, I'll shoot 20 to 30 videos at one time. All right, just done. And then for long form, I'll shoot anywhere from 5 to 10 videos at a time, depending on how my throat feels, right? Right. But that's really it. And then it's consistent. So we have a content library at this point. I think I have over 80 short forms already edited, ready to post. That allows me, if I have to go, I'm here, right? Or I'm going away with my family, for instance. It was spring break. I have 2 kids, right? I didn't have to worry about not shooting that week because I'm away. We have so much additional content ready to go that it can be posted, without missing a beat, right? So that's the huge thing, is shooting a lot of content at a time, not just one-offs. I think that's where people lose sight. When we used to film early on, before we ever really got into this, we'd shoot a video, post a video, then I get sucked into originating, never post another video, right? Our videos are posted at the same time every single day, 7 days a week. It's consistent, and people know, and the algorithms for Instagram and TikTok pick up on that, and it helps as well. You're not just, some people, like I said, do what we used to do. Just shoot a video, post it at some point, and remember to shoot again in a week. Right? It doesn't work that way. You need to be consistent with any of these platforms.
And methodical too. The way that you're doing this, that's the word that comes to mind for me. The other thing I like is that you're getting a lot of content in the can, as we like to say. Like you said, you have this library of content, of videos that you can go to. And I would have to think that based on how quickly things can and do change in this business, a lot of those videos have to be evergreen.
Oh, for sure.
You have to, right?
100%.
Yeah, things are constantly evolving. It's like, if not day to day, week to week, month to month, whatever the case may be.
Hour to hour.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes. You mentioned long form content. Let me ask you about that, because for a while, everyone was focusing on these quick hit videos on social, nothing more than 20 or 30 seconds. People's attention spans aren't what they used to be, so on and so forth. Seems like the long form stuff is making a bit of a comeback. Tell me where you stand with the long form content, like you said, on YouTube.
I love long form personally. I like it more than the short form, because with long form, people are actually making an effort to find that content versus it just being thrown in their face because it happens. They watched another video about the condo crash in Florida, for instance, and then my video pops up in their feed. They weren't looking for that, right? It just happened to be put in front of them because they showed some interest. Maybe they watched 10 seconds of a video on that subject, where with a YouTube, which is the long form that we're referencing, right? It's like a Google, right? Someone's going on to YouTube, they're searching a specific topic, and then they're going to get the videos based on that topic. I think there's more intent behind it, which the people that actually watch that, when they do, because we have people reach out, and like I said, we don't really do a call to action in our videos. It's always just been about providing value to people, and then they can decide if they want to reach out at some point, which happens. But the people that do reach out, they feel like they already know me, right? And to have a conversation with one of my team members, even myself, and you don't have to build that trust, right? That's part of, right? Trust, right? You already have that trust because they feel like they know who you are from the content. And it's people, like I said, that they're taking the time to educate themselves, I think is huge. Watching videos on closing costs or first time buyer, whatever. There's a million topics you can do, right? So I think on YouTube I have 2,000 subscribers, which you look at these people that have 30,000, millions, which is crazy to me. I mean, I watch stuff on YouTube. I've never subscribed to anybody, right? And I'm consistent. I watch the same people over and over again. It's funny. And I'm like, I would never subscribe. But the people that I'm like, they must really like what I'm doing if they're taking the time to subscribe and really watch and, interact with the videos. And like I said, the clients that we get from there, because we do get clients from there, I don't want to say it's like a lay down, but it is in the sense that you're not having to sell yourself, because that's always part of, right, trying to earn someone's business. You need to make them feel comfortable with you, so you're selling yourself. That part of it is out of the equation, and it just, I don't know, it makes it so much easier to help people because you're already willing to listen to what you have to say because you're the expert based on what they've already educated themselves in watching your content.
And they get to know you before they even know you, right? They put a name to the face, to the voice. It's it's an amazing opportunity, and I wish more people would take advantage of it. Speaking of that, I talked about your accolades off the top of the conversation. You're the number 2 purchase LO we have across the country, in all the success that you've had, Brandon. How impactful do you think all of your video content on social has been on the success that you've had in the business?
I think it's indirectly part of it, right? I think we're just starting to see the fruits of our labor on that. What I love about the social media content that we create, it's a huge tool for the agents that we do business with. So it's not even that the way I've always done business, I'm looking for ways to help our agents, right? And so we'll create tools, social media being one of them, but this presence where it's so much easier for them to have a conversation with the bar that, hey, by the way, check out my lender on whatever they want to use, depending on the demographic, the age. A lot of the older, buyers aren't necessarily on Instagram or TikTok, but YouTube, right, is more for that. But they're able to share that, and it looks like it's a tool coming from them. Hey, this is the lender that I work with. This is content he creates to help my clients, right? And that way they're not, a lot of times the realtor, I'm just going to use that as an example, right? They feel like they need to try to talk about mortgage, even though they don't know it. They try to talk. It just takes that out of it. And it's, hey, this is my go-to. You don't even have to use him, right? It's completely up to your discretion, but he creates this content just to help educate consumers on the market. I think you'll really like it. And that makes it easier for them, because then they'll say, hey, can I have Brandon's contact information? Happens all the time. So how does it help grow our business? In that way. Maybe not directly consumer to us right now, because we haven't really started focusing on that. However, indirectly by way of the realtor utilizing our content and pushing the clients back to us.
That's an amazing point. And what an advantage for a realtor to be in, to have a resource like yourself, because like you said, that's not their area of expertise. All these different things that people want to know about the mortgage process, but that's where you come in. Whether you get business from it or not, it's just another person that knows who you are. You mentioned the realtors. I want to ask you about your future plans for content, because you have something coming up. It's in the works right now and involving some of your realtor partners.
Yeah, so my partner and I put together a webinar series that we're going to be, we haven't tried it yet, but you got to try things to see if they work, right? So we're doing these webinars. We're going to do like the smart home buyer. So we put together a tool, smart home buyer. Can't give all the details, I don't want to, but everyone's welcome to join it once we start promoting it. But that's going to be the first time we're really going to direct to consumer. And we're going to be advertising that. I just finished shooting the commercials for it. We're starting it in our local market. So I'm in South Florida, so Broward County, Palm Beach County. But what we're doing is we're linking up a realtor with us. So we're going to get people onto the webinar. We're going to bring a realtor onto the webinar as the expert in the area, so they can see the number of people that are actually on there. And we're going to use that to generate opportunities for that realtor. And of course, for us, the goal is to have my team help pre-approve a lot of these people that are on the webinar, which we can then hand off to the agents that work in the local market. So it's a way to really give back, not just in every other value that we offer, but truly able to give business back to agents. We did it years ago. It wasn't their webinars though. Years ago, Zillow, which I know some people just don't like Zillow, but they used to have a long mortgage form. It was a lead form, right? And we used to generate pre-approved buyers, and that's how we started going out and getting realtors to do hey, we're able to generate pre-approved buyers. You're not paying for it. We're just looking for the opportunity to earn your other business, and we're going to give you these pre-approved buyers, right? Conceptually the same thing. It's just we're in more control, right? Because we don't want to be controlled by a Zillow, for instance, right? Where everything's relying upon that. So now we're putting the control in our own hands, and what we do with it is, I guess, whatever we decide. So it's how successful could we be with it? I guess it depends on the amount of effort we put in, right? So just like we did with our social media, conceptually the same thing, but at least we have the social media backing already as like a base to build upon, and it helps get people onto the webinar, because we're able to put together groups of individuals that are already watching the content. So the people we're marketing the webinar to are people we know are already following us and are interested in the content, whether it be realtors, it could be mortgage originators, it could be consumers, right? Just the mix in general.
It's crazy to think you could be just scratching the surface of what more you can do with some of this content, from webinars to your videos and everything else that you are putting out there. This has been a fascinating conversation. Really appreciate you sharing with us. I know that everybody who listens to this is going to take something from it as they hopefully start recording content of their own or continue to build out their content library. Brandon Brotsky with Reach Home Loans. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.